Hi, and welcome to the November 2025 Microsoft Product Licensing Terms update from the Software Asset Management team here at version 1. Hey, William, Neve, how are you
Hiya.
today?
Hey,
Very
Carl.
well, thank you. Yep.
Thanks.
An evolving month of product terms updates. As we record this, you can see a subtle change on the 11th of November. So who knows what else Microsoft might have brewing over the next week or days. So let's kick things off, Neve. You want to have a look, have a chat about what you spotted this month?
Yeah, sure. I just had a look at the update that was applied to the Microsoft Azure product terms, where they've added Azure AI search terms in relation to use of first-party consumption services and use of web knowledge sources while using grounding with Bing services. And there's terms for open source models. Look, in a nutshell, really, all this kind of applies to is Azure AI Foundry, and that was something that I kind of wasn't familiar with. But essentially, it's a unified platform designed for enterprise AI operations, for developers to build, test, and deploy AI applications, and so on. So that was kind of the only change that I looked at. And what I did want to kind of highlight, which this now only applies to enterprise agreement customers, is that because it's not in the product terms, but I was made aware that there is an Exchange Server extended security update available to enterprise agreement customers. They need to kind of talk to their Microsoft partner or Microsoft account executive, and that will cover them for 6 months. So I guess probably from this quarter into the end of next quarter to help facilitate those customers that haven't been able to upgrade fully to Exchange Server subscription edition in time. And now similarly as well, there is also a Skype for Business server extended security update for exactly the same reasons and term. And I guess that might also give us an idea then that maybe there might be something available for SharePoint Server 2019 as that goes end of life next July, but kind of watch this space. So that's pretty much from me for this month. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Neve. William,
Yeah.
anything weird and wonderful in the product terms that you spotted this month?
It was just really about the Microsoft Copilot Studio and the way that they've changed the pricing model on that. So essentially, any user that interacts with Copilot Studio agents or an agent that's performing a task on behalf of users consumes Copilot credits. Now, Copilot credits are essentially the way that Microsoft meters, it's their metering mechanism for using Copilot Studio capabilities and functionality. So the way that it's changed is that there's now 4 ways of essentially paying for Copilot Studio usage. So the first one's Microsoft 365 Copilot has included an entitlement. So anyone with an M365 Copilot license is entitled to use Copilot Studio as part of their license. So there's no actual additional cost over and above the cost of the M365 Copilot license. Second one's pay as you go. So this allows customers to essentially post-pay, a bit like an Azure subscription, based on the number of Copilot credits that users consume in a billing month. This allows pure flexibility, scalability, all that sort of good stuff without any interruptions due to overage. The third one's Copilot Credit Capacity Pack. Now this is a block of credits, Copilot credits that you purchase in advance, and it lasts for within the calendar month. That's 25,000 credits for about $200. They've got to be used in the same month, and they can't be carried over. But also, if all those credits are consumed in a calendar month, then either you need to buy another pack, or the overage can convert to pay-as-you-go metering at a slightly higher cost per credit. And the fourth one is interesting. So this is, right, bear with me, Copilot Credit Commit Units Pre-Purchase Plan, or CCCU. And that's an annual upfront purchase option, which has tiered discounts depending on the volume of CCCUs that you buy. And they essentially last for the year until they're consumed. And it's just basically a pool of Copilot credits that can then be dissipated across different agents across the tenant. So that's probably larger enterprise, type scenarios. So yeah, it's just ever evolving as Copilot Studio becomes the go-to chatbot agent, AI assistant within the Microsoft 365 tenant. Then there's Microsoft just make it more flexible and easier to pay for usage and not have to, and depending on the business need, it can be purchased in 4 different ways essentially, and a combination of each. So it's not one or the other.
Is it easy to compute what you need from a licensing or pay as you go?
Sorry,
would it be easy to kind of forecast what you need?
No. So because each interaction is a send and a receive, so that's essentially 2 credits. So you ask a question, you get an answer, potentially that's 2 credits. If Copilot Studio has to think about it more and you have to re-prompt or read, then again that consumes credits again. So proof of concept pilot schemes, see what the usage is going to be like, is the best way of forecasting. But then on the flip side, they are starting to bring in the ability to manage and segment credits according to environments or instances. So it's not just a tenant level. You can break it down a bit like Power Platform. You can start allocating certain amount of credits to certain agents, and set sort of deadlines and hard stops on the amount of usage. But no, if the agent is there and people use it, then it's going to consume credits one way or another. So it all depends on usage.
Thanks, William. So I looked at the Visual Studio product terms update this month. So Microsoft has updated the product terms for Visual Studio based on the forthcoming release or launch, or the recent launch of Visual Studio 2026. So as you can gather, there's been some version changes within the product terms. So first up, the subscription names no longer reference the specific versions like 2022. They're now just referencing Visual Studio Enterprise, Professional, and Test Professional. The current version of Visual Studio should I say, is 2026 with the 2020 removed. So that's obviously the key and the most material difference that we see in the product terms to reflect that new product launch. There's also some change around office rights. So interestingly, and this one often flies under the radar for a lot of organizations, and it can potentially unearth a possible cost saving in certain circumstances. But enterprise subscribers now get access to Office LTSC Professional Plus, replacing the old Office 2019 entitlement. But one of the biggest shifts in the product terms this month with regard, should I say, to Visual Studio 2026 is the simplification of the term. So Microsoft have removed several sections tied to the 2022 product line. So they include things like build device rules, utility installation rights, extension, development restrictions, distribution code details, and code inspection terms. So what's left is a lot more cleaner, a lot more streamlined set of developer rights, which is good to see, right? So anything that can simplify and modernize Microsoft product terms is always welcome. Good news is all the core benefits remain the same pretty much, right? So Visual Studio Dev Test usage, SQL Server PDW rights, should I say, Azure DevOps Server licensing, and so on. So they all stay the same. So overall, Microsoft have modernized the terms to reflect that change to 2026, and they've just removed a lot of the legacy specific terminology associated with 2022. So that about wraps things up for this month's Microsoft product terms. As always, if you have any Microsoft licensing related questions or queries, or any other software vendor queries, please feel free to reach out to the Software Asset Management practice here at Version 1. And until next month's update, Niamh, William, thanks again for your feedback.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.